Well, President-elect Trump is putting the world on notice about his intentions to acquire Greenland. Just yesterday, Trump sent his son, Don Jr., and a delegation of other representatives to the territory's capital city of Nuuk. Now, the president-elect says Greenland is essential for keeping the United States and the world safe and secure. Watch.
We need Greenland for national security purposes. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
And one Democrat lawmaker says that he's open to hearing the idea out. Here's Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman.
I would never support taking it by force, but I do think it's a responsible conversation if they were open to acquiring it and whether just buying it outright. I mean, if anyone think that's bonkers, it's like, well, remember the Louisiana Purchase? Well, I think Alaska was a great deal too. $50 million, open to having all kinds of conversations as well. And now I don't think it's not helpful to freak out, but some things might work out, some may not. But that's part of an ongoing dialogue.
So ongoing dialogue that might now actually include both parties and might proceed. What say you, Bill?
Back in March, we had the great fortune of joining the U.S. Navy and going up pretty close to the North Pole. And I can tell you, well north of the Arctic Circle in March, everything is frozen as far as the eye can see. Geographically, the island of Greenland, 4/5 of it is above the Arctic Circle, which means for about 10 months out of the year, it is nothing but frozen ice. If you want to successfully navigate places like Greenland, what you need are icebreakers. Mm-hmm. You know how many icebreakers the United States has today?
0.
2, I believe.
2. Yeah. Very good.
Yes.
U.S. Coast Guard. Do you know how many icebreakers Russia has today?
5, 10.
40. And some of them are nuclear powered, which gives Putin the capacity to operate at that part of the world during certain times of the year. So Greenland sounds like a great idea, but if you're going to go ahead and pursue that, you're going to have to pursue some other things too, which includes spending money to develop what you need in order to operate in that part of the world.
And to Bill's point, Dagan, so China also has icebreakers and are a member of that Arctic Circle coalition that is so vitally important for.
They kind of invited themselves.
Exactly. They pushed their way in.
There are 8 countries in the world that share the Arctic Circle. China ain't one of them. But in 2018, they kind of invited themselves into the club, and they set up a science lab on a northern island far above the Arctic Circle in Norway to be a part of this. So
they're a part of it. And then the mineral-rich Greenland also, to his point, provides another resource that if we get our hands on, it means China doesn't.
Also, this 3 times the size of Texas and also rich in oil and gas. China, stated goal, world's #1 superpower. And President Trump is just simply saying, OK, different administration, different leader, not going to sit back and empower and enrich all of these nations that want to wipe the United States off the face of the earth. So you take President Trump, that press conference, you take him seriously. Maybe not literally, so some of these things will get done. The one thing that jumped out for me was when he said his threat about the hostages in Gaza, that he reiterated by the middle of the day on January 20th, the United States and Israel will be aligned like this.
There were 2 bodies found today in Gaza that the Israelis reported.
Hostages. Yeah.
A father and a son.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your
He
point.
said all hell will break loose if those hostages are not returned.
Kaylee, analysts have said that in the prior administration of President Trump, when he talked about then as well acquiring Greenland, that it wasn't until it was sort of announced publicly that Denmark sort of resurfaced in a publicly nationalistic sort of fervor and refusal, but it actually was making strides back then. So here now, is this a continuation rather than origin story.
I'm so glad you brought this up because it is a continuation. You know, it's funny to watch some of the liberal media. They act as if, you know, Trump had a hat and he pulled out the name of countries and said, I just want these because, you know, I'm an autocrat. That is not what happened. These are strategic decisions he is making for our national security interests. You talk about competition in the Arctic over natural resources. Greenland is hugely important, but rare earth minerals, which are key to making defense products. We have 1.3% of rare earth minerals. China has 70%. Greenland is rich in this. And even John Bolton, a critic of the Trump administration, said yesterday, I've always seen the strategic importance of Greenland.
Which is interesting considering that he was just visiting there in Florida. So I wonder if that was part of the conversation. And to that end, Denmark is clear that they don't mine for that, right? So this would represent a very serious shift of utilization of Greenland.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I'm actually much more optimistic about our ability to cut through ice. Having lived in Minnesota, one of the early dates with my husband up in Duluth on the Great Lake of Superior was to watch an ice cutter come in, because at that point, the Lake Superior, which is the size of the ocean, basically up there, would come in, and ice was so thick that we were driving our cars out into places like Brainerd, and 18-wheelers were dropping those houses. Now, I don't know how much of that is going on today, but those are some great dates. And those ice cutters come in, and they're like giant cities cutting through that ice because the ships are so big. We have a lot of go power in the United States, and there's some people who can do some things that maybe don't make television. I think we got this.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.